Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Karen McMullen, and I am a features programmer at Doc NYC. We're here today with the lovely film Elders Corner, and we have joining us for the Q&A the film's director, Siji Awoyinka, the producer, Ade Bantu, and one of the film's subjects, Ken Okulolo. Welcome, and thank you for your wonderful film.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys are coming at us from all corners of the world, which is lovely. Los Angeles, New York, and Germany.
Right.
There's some benefits to Zoom, right? So let's just jump right in. I really loved this film. It was entertaining and informative. You know, it was a walkthrough. I watched it expecting just a musical documentary, but the interweaving of the history of Nigeria using music as a thread was really masterfully done. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
The film opens with the line, it's near the beginning, "It must be the devil's trick to be born in a country where neither soul nor talent is appreciated."
Right.
Do you feel like the talent of these musicians really is not appreciated? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Given the breadth of material and what they achieved, in my mind, no, not necessarily so. You know, save for one or two of them, as we went about, Ade and I, discovering all these elders, it was very heartbreaking to see the conditions within which we met them. A lot of them had been abandoned. A few of them lived by themselves. Very little to show for their accomplishments, you know. So in that regard, yes, I would say, as far as I'm concerned, these guys should be celebrated. These are our pearls. They're the custodians of our culture, of our history, of our language. And, you know, to see that amount of neglect, for me, was very heartbreaking. You know, we'd turn up at an interview and it was like, wow, not again. So very much so.
And Ade, how did you join CJ in bringing this project to life?
Siji and I were just hanging out in Lagos, and it dawned on us that we were not actually addressing the history of who we are, especially archiving our music, our culture. And we said we had to do something, and we felt a certain urgency. So we quickly knew that we had to go about filming, interviewing these various subjects. We had gotten to know Fatai Rolling Dollar. We hung out around him, and he was so knowledgeable. We felt like, okay, we need to actually go back to him with a camera and start the interview with him. And then from there, we just continued the process. Ultimately, we don't have any filmmaking background, so we are musicians, right? So we're talking musician to musician. And over the years, over time, we started interweaving it with the history of Nigeria, and the more layers started building around this idea of archiving or documenting our culture.
So, Ken, can you talk about, I would think that there would have been other attempts to make films about Nigerian music. I mean, you know, Lagos being the center of Nollywood and music being so important to the culture. Have you been approached, or have you appeared in any other films?
Not really. Just here in California, this film industry in Nigeria just started picking up maybe a decade ago. When I was there was nothing like Nollywood or whatever. So the things we did in those days were not documented or videoed or filmed. And I'm so happy that CJ and his friend pick up this, project, because it's really necessary to archive what our elders have done. In this case, I happen to be one of the elders. And, it's a good journey, and it's a good exposure to African music, most especially Nigerian music. There's so much culture in the music, and this is something we'll be trying to say to the Western world, but we didn't have the avenue to do so, not until Siji showed up and realized that, this is something that the world must see and appreciate, even though the world has been benefiting from African music for decades without them knowing. But we're happy as musicians, and that's what keeps us going. Not the benefit of it is near zero, but we still keep going because we have hope. One day something will happen to our music and the world will start appreciating it. So my brother Siji, I must take my hat off for you and your partner for this exposure. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's absolutely important document. We're joined now by Taiwo.
Yes, I can't hear her.
Can you hear us yet?
Oh, it says
All right.
to audio.
Okay, we'll come back when you get your audio connected.
Okay.
So, yeah, CJ, you studied as an engineer like a good Nigerian boy, but so your parents wouldn't disown you.
That's right.
But you know, segued into music, obviously, is your love, and filmmaking.
Correct.
Can you talk a bit about, I mean, music is not just music, it is good for dancing and you know, entertainment, but especially in African cultures, musicians often act as griots, you know, we're like
very
storytellers
very true.
of the culture. Can you talk a little bit about, their role as that?
Yes. When I was a child, and I remember when I was 5 and I was taken to Nigeria for the very first time, my father took us to his village where he grew up to meet my grandmother. And I was 5 at the time. And I distinctly remember one of the earliest memories I have of that time of being in Nigeria was this lady just holding me close and beginning to utter these. She was just talking in her dialect, Ekiti dialect. And obviously she was reciting what is known as my Oriki. It's like your birth poem. It chronicles who you are, who your family is, what the essence of your core, your journey and your history, what that is. And that whole culture, the Oriki, the griots, the storytelling, it's an integral part of our culture, of who we are. And oftentimes when your Oriki is being recited, it's normally accompanied by talking drummers. You know, the talking drummers bring out all the drums. You'd hear someone reciting your Oriki and they'll be responding with the drums. So it's almost like it's ingrained in you from an early age. So you see, music forms an integral part of how we communicate who we are, what our culture is and what we are. It forms an integral part of how that is conveyed to the rest of the world. You know, we have a very rich oral history. I always say that a lot of these elders that we interviewed, very few of them had any kind of records of their past. And in many ways, we can trace that to the fact that a lot of our history is passed down orally. We don't necessarily record ourselves per se, or, you know, not very few of them had pictures of themselves per se either. You know, so it's the spoken word with music, with sound is a very, very powerful means or powerful tool with which we use to inform the coming generations as far as who we are and what we're about.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you for that. So Taiwo, welcome. It's good to see you, one of our film subjects. Can you hear me?
Sister, can you hear us? I don't think I'll let me send a chat.
Okay. So you've made this film and kind of like you're right in the nick of time because the elders are, you know, people aren't here for long and elders are dying off. You know, we lost Tony Allen just this year, for example. Have many of the film subjects been able to see the film?
Oh, very few, very, very few, you know, and this has been 10 years in the making. And very early on, one of the very first things, Jimmy, after we interviewed for Taiwo Lijadu, the next subject we caught up with was Jimmy Sholanke, the guy who opens up the film with the powerful oratory. And I remember very first, and when we introduced ourselves, we told him what we were there to do. And one of the very first things he said is, you have to hurry up. Turn on your cameras and start, because we are not going to be in your midst very longer. There's not a lot of us left. The many you should have spoken to already, but they've gone. So the few of us that are left, hurry up, get started, get rolling. So over the years, we've lost quite a few of them. And sadly, there was a work in progress. A lot of them didn't get to see the film. Save for, okay, we have Sister Taiwo here. We have McCann. We have Johnny Shula and Johnny Hastrop. He's also in California. They've seen it. When I was in Nigeria about 5 years ago, I showed it to Ebenezer Obey. I believe Ade sat with one or two of them as well. So a few of them have seen it, But it's obviously, I really wish a whole lot of them could be here to witness the premiere with us. It was a dream of mine.
Yeah.
I did promise, I said, you know what, I'll get your stories out there. I'll do my very best to make sure your words are heard, but I'm sure in spirit, they're witness to everything that's going on right now. So I can rest assured of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gift to all of us to see, but it's also what really I loved watching the film was all that archival footage of just kind of daily life in Nigeria, or the black and white footage over the years. We don't see a lot of that in the West. We see the same images coming out of Africa. So thank you so much for sharing those images with us. And I can't imagine what you guys went through looking through all of that footage. What were you most surprised to find out? Because you weren't born in Nigeria, you're born in London, correct?
Yes, correct.
What were you most surprised to find out about your country looking through the footage?
How little had changed. I mean, on the surface, I mean, visually, obviously, there have been changes architecturally and what have you. But by the same token, I could see some parts of the country and say, wow, I know where this is. I know where that is. So the spirit of the country, the heart of the country, the soul of the country is still very much there. Lagos, for instance, is a lot more crowded than when I remember it to be. But that aside, the people, seeing the people in imagery, I mean, in the black and white footage, the black and white photography that I found, the people seemed a lot more subdued and statelier. There was a certain innocence about them, I found, compared to now. Now people are everywhere. People are aware. There's been development and there's been growth. But I also know, by the same measure, the people have evolved somewhat. They're a lot more enlightened, a lot more forward, whereas beforehand they were a lot more calmer, more subdued. And that's something Sister Taiwo Lijadu spoke about. She said it was a calm time.
Taiwo, can you hear us?
I don't think her phone is her. I don't know what she's done.
It's nice to see her.
Right.
Even if you can't join. So Ken and Ade, as you know, we're experiencing a lot more African influenced music and popular music in the West right now. What do you think of it? Do you listen to it? Do you know any of these musicians? And do they do what Western musicians do, which is sample? James Brown has sampled a lot in current music. Do they sample any of your old music in the new stuff?
You're talking to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sampling? No. I'm not big enough here to be sampled. But my music has been used in short movies and commercials and stuff like that. I've been doing this for almost 35 years now. I came over to the US early 85. after finishing a world tour with Sonny Ade, I decided to come back to California because kind of like California. It's just like more like, Africa. And the weather is great. So that I was sold on that. So I came back and started my band, Kotoja. That was in 1986. Up till now, the band is still happening, but we don't work much because of COVID. But all will soon be resolved, hopefully, in the near future. We can come back to performing. And I've been spreading African music to the best of my knowledge, the best way I can do it, both traditionally, both contemporarily, and whatever form that people wants to hear. I have tried them all, and I've been very successful in doing that. When this film was suggested and Siji came down here to record me, I just said, well, maybe something is going to happen now because we've been struggling for too long and we've not been recognized, and other people are using the benefit of African music to make money, but the Africans are not making money. But musicians of today, young ones, who does the sampling that you had mentioned, seems to be getting on fine. Whereas the elders who are naturals, who stick to the traditional form of music, of playing music together as a unit, that's the way music is enjoyed in Africa, not sampling or overdubbing or all that kind of thing. You do it as a unit, as a family. That's how it is enjoyed. Nigerians don't have concerts where you go and sit down and listen. No, you're part of the music, you're part of the event. Everything revolves around a family affair. And so, yes, as hopefully someday when I write a hit, they might sample it. But for now, I'm cool.
Okay, thanks.
Going to your question real quick, I think these are the most exciting times ever for contemporary African music because young Africans have been able to emancipate themselves from that stigma of world music, where you're joined with your contemporaries, in inverted commas, from say Asia, India, South America, and you're all one potpourri of world music, They're now contemporary global pop music artists, and as such, they're on par with the likes of, say, Chris Brown and what have you not. So I think I like the attitude of the young ones. They come self-assertive, they own their music, they own their lingo, their culture, and what have you not. And they are, to a certain degree, also acknowledging their musical elders. I think in terms of their musical vocabulary, in terms of the sampling, there's a bit of a limitation. So they would rather go to, say, a Fela or a Sonny Ade or an Ebenezer Obey. But obviously, a lot of them, because we don't have an archive culture, and there's no access to a lot of these samplers that you have, these reissues, there's been this revival, this resurgence of Nigerian music. So you have European labels reissuing old Nigerian music, but the young Nigerian can't actually access it. And also because music isn't being taught at schools. It hasn't been taught for about 15, 20 years. It's not part of the curriculum. So you have almost 2 generations that don't understand the rudiments of music. So that's why you have that wide gap there. But they're trying to bridge it as best as they can. So I think a film like Elders Corner would ignite a lot of interest and also kind of help bridge that gap. That's what I'm hoping. And Siji and I are hoping with this film, because we are very visual people as well. And when they see all these different names that they might have heard of or maybe not, it will kind of arouse their curiosity and they will go digging. And hopefully we'll hear more of them sampling and cross-referencing these elders in the near future.
And that's a wonderful use of the film, bridging the gap and educating people about their history worldwide and exposing us to all the great music. I am afraid we are out of time. We're going to have to wrap this up. But I would really like to thank Siji and Ade for making this really beautiful film, chronicling this really important piece of world history and sharing it with us. Thank you, Ken and Taiwo, for your music.
Thank you.
And I hope the film gets seen. Take care.
Thank you so much.